Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 1177, Nika and Nidhöggr.
And what a title it is! A confrontation centuries, if not millennia, in the making.
I'm still reeling from the last page, man. Imu looks at Luffy and Loki and says that their battle is going to split the planet in two.
The blue planet, to be precise. A chilling, apocalyptic statement to end on. It reframes everything we thought we knew about the final war.
Are you kidding me? The stakes just went from saving a country to breaking the world. Okay, let's back up. We gotta go through this whole thing from the top. My brain is soup. I need to process this chronologically.
We start at the Western Village with the battle against the demonized giants in full swing. The way these giants look is just incredible. They have this twisted, corrupted nature. Their eyes are empty, but their smiles are so wide and malicious.
It's super creepy. And the things they're saying, trying to tempt Dory and Brogy, telling them they've been liberated, that they're immortal now, that nothing is evil anymore. That's classic villain talk. It sounds like something a cult leader would say.
It's a complete perversion of the concept of freedom, which is a core tenet of One Piece. They're offering a freedom from consequence, from morality, a hollow, meaningless existence. It's the opposite of the freedom Luffy represents.
Exactly. And Dory and Brogy are just not having it. But then one of them, Gentonio, just stabs Dory right through the forearm.
He took the hit on his shield, but the trident went right through the metal and into his arm. A brutal opening attack that immediately establishes how dangerous these corrupted giants are. They aren't just mindless zombies, they retain their combat skills.
Dory and Brogy's faces, they were so mad. They looked like they were filled with such pure, righteous fury. It wasn't just pain, it was like they were deeply, personally insulted. Hadrian and Stanson, too. They basically tell their old comrades to be ashamed for giving in to evil, for letting their warrior pride be tainted.
It's an offense against their very being. The Elbaph Code of Honor is everything to them. To see their friends twisted into something that has no honor, that attacks from the shadows and spouts poison, it's the ultimate disgrace.
And then Brogy gets his revenge. He singles out Gentonio, and his reason is just perfect. He yells at him for always taking more than a spoonful of his food during their feasts.
It's so wonderfully specific. A grudge held for a century over portion control.
That's the best grudge in history. 100 years he's been holding on to that. It's hilarious, but it's also so Elbaph. Their lives are so long that these small moments, these little violations of their community rules, they stick around forever. And then he just bisects him. A clean slice right down the middle. Gone. And that seems to be the cure.
It is, and it seems like that's the answer. Dealing fatal damage to the demonized giants reverts them back to normal, the demonic entity seemingly expelled upon their death. The visual is striking. The shadowy form dissipates and the giant falls, looking peaceful for the first time.
It's so brutal, though. Zoro, Dory, Hadrian, and Stanson then proceed to just cut down everyone else. It's a total massacre. It's so cool seeing them all fight together, this unstoppable giant slayers, but man, they're cutting down their own friends. Even Jarul looked a little unnerved by it, and I get it. They're moving with scary efficiency, like surgeons of war.
It's the grim reality of the situation. It's a mercy, but a brutal one. It reminds me of the samurai of Wano, where a clean, honorable death can be seen as a form of salvation. They have to effectively kill their friends to save them. But this scene, this solution of overwhelming force, sets up a crucial contrast with what we see next.
With Chopper, yeah. So we cut to another part of the island, and Kashi is getting cornered by his old comrades, and he can't do it. He can't bring himself to fight back. He's just standing there, shield up, taking hits.
But Kashi is frozen. He can't harm his old friends. It's a completely understandable reaction, and one that highlights the horror of the situation for the average giant who isn't a legendary captain or the world's strongest swordsman. He's a warrior, but his heart is too soft for this particular task.
Chopper's with Scopper Gaban, who's holding his own, and Chopper's just panicking, yelling at Kashi to run or fight. And just as Kashi is about to get taken out by a giant axe, Chopper pops a rumble ball and goes monster point. He just decks one of the giants. He lands this huge blow.
But the attack looked strange, different from his usual monster point blows. There was no impact crater, no shockwave lines. It doesn't seem to do any physical damage. The giant isn't even really knocked back.
No way. It's like he just slapped him with this giant hand. It looked almost gentle for a monster punch. My first thought was, oh no, is that all it did? But then the demon thing, the shadow, just leaves the giant's body. It shrieks and evaporates, and the giant just collapses, totally unharmed, back to normal. Chopper and Kashi are just staring, like, what just happened?
This is the key. There are two ways to reverse this curse. The warriors are using overwhelming fatal force. Their intent is to kill, to end their comrades' suffering. But Chopper, he used a protective, non-lethal blow. It wasn't about hurting the giant, it was about protecting Kashi and driving the demon out.
So it's not the damage, it's the intent. Like Chopper's pure-hearted stop hurting my friend punch worked like an exorcism. The will behind the attack was to heal, not to harm. That's our doctor. He found a cure.
It seems so. It could even be a new application of Haki. We've seen armament and observation, and Conquerors is the embodiment of will. Perhaps this is a manifestation of a different kind of will, the will to save, to protect, a doctor Haki. It's a much more hopeful solution than the alternative, one that doesn't require a massacre. It's the Straw Hat way.
I love it. That's a huge level up for Chopper, finding a way to win without killing. Okay, then we cut to the rest of the crew, and they've got Killingham. He's just ahead, and he's still talking trash.
His audacity is something else. He's completely defeated, in pieces. We see his torso and limbs lying nearby, and still spewing hatred, especially towards Jinbei and the fishmen. He's calling him a filthy sea beast.
The prejudice of the celestial dragons runs so deep that it's all he has left. And I love our Franky solution. He's got his tools out, and he's like, let's just put his body parts in different boxes and nail them shut. Problem solved. So simple, so effective. A true cyborg's answer to a problem of regeneration. If the parts can't get back to each other, they can't reform. It's beautifully logical. Sanji, however, is less impressed. Yeah, he's kind of shocked that a Knight of God was this weak. He's looking down at the head, just disgusted. But that just makes him angrier. Like, how could these guys, these dishonorable fools, bring a warrior nation like Elbaph to its knees?
It speaks to the nature of their methods, which we're seeing firsthand. It wasn't a conquest of strength, but of corruption. They used underhanded tactics, a biological or spiritual weapon, to turn the giants against each other. That's what disgusts Sanji. It's dishonorable. It violates his warrior's code. It reminds me of his hatred for Germa's methods, winning through dirty tricks and soulless technology, rather than true strength and heart.
And Franky has a great point that it only seems easy because they're all so much stronger now. He says, think back to 2 years ago, this guy would have wiped the floor with us. And he's right. This is the level they operate at now. They're a Yonko crew.
It's a vital point to remember. The Straw Hats have ascended to a new tier of power. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable are now manageable. But Jinbei, ever the helmsman, keeps them grounded. He warns them not to get arrogant, not to celebrate too early. There's still one more Knight of God on the island.
I mean, we know who it is. We saw the silhouette last chapter. It's Emil, walking around in Saint Gunko's body. That's the real final boss of this arc. And Jinbei's warning is just hanging in the air, you know?
Exactly. While this is happening, Nami is feeding Zeus thunderclouds so he can put out the fires raging across Elbaph, which is when Luffy and Loki show up, descending from the sky.
And Loki is in his giant beast form. It's this massive serpentine dragon coiling in the air, covered in lightning. The guys are all freaking out, totally in awe. And then Nami just starts screaming at them.
because in their fight against the Mother Musha automata, they started even more fires. Loki's lightning specifically set a whole new section of the forest ablaze.
I lost it. It's such a perfect Nami moment. Two godlike beings descend from the heavens after winning a massive battle, and she's just furious about the collateral damage and the potential repair bill. Luffy immediately points his thumb at Loki and blames him, which is also perfect. He learned nothing from Zoe.
And Loki, the Prince of Elbaph, is just flabbergasted. He's frustrated at being yelled at after saving his country, so he just turns and blasts Luffy with a huge burst of lightning.
And it does nothing. Of course, he's rubber. Luffy is just standing there, steaming a little with that classic blank expression. Loki is standing there completely stunned. His jaw is on the floor. He has no idea what he's looking at. He just used one of his most powerful attacks, and it was completely nullified. It's hilarious.
A small moment, but it's a good reminder of a core concept that we haven't seen in a while. Luffy's unique immunity. It was his saving grace against Enel. In a world now dominated by Haki, Luffy's devil fruit has fundamental properties that can trump even godlike powers. It might come into play again.
It has to. But before they can keep arguing, they see an explosion in the distance, over by the great tree. And we cut there. To Usopp. Oh my god, Usopp. He's on the ground, all beaten up, in front of Imu and Gunko's body.
He went to rescue Brook, who is impaled to a tree by several shadowy spears, much like he was by the spider mouse on Thriller Bark. Brook is telling Usopp to run to save himself, but Usopp refuses.
He says a warrior would never run, that he can't disgrace Elbaph's legacy. He's got tears in his eyes, but his expression, it's not fear, it's pure determination. His face, man. He says he's so angry he's not even scared anymore. That's it. That's the moment. The culmination of his entire journey.
It's his declaration. He's internalizing the lessons of the giants. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of your fear. He's living up to the stories he's told his whole life. He's becoming the brave warrior of the sea he always wanted to be, right here in the land of his heroes.
And Franky just lays into Imu. He doesn't even know who they are, just that they're in charge. He calls them out for kidnapping kids, for turning friends against each other, for hiding behind pawns, for being a coward. He's screaming it right at the ultimate king of the world.
Imu's response is bone-chilling. They don't even raise their voice. A ruler does not need to get their hands dirty. The pieces on the board move as I command. That line is the entire ideology of the Celestial Dragons. In one sentence, it's the ultimate expression of their detachment and supremacy.
Usopp isn't having it. He readies a skull blast glass, one of his explosive pellets, but Imu just flashes right in front of him, a blur of motion, goading him to shoot at point-blank range. And Usopp does it. He doesn't flinch. The explosion just wrecks Usopp even more, throwing him back, and Imu just regenerates from the smoke, not a scratch.
A terrifying display of power. It shows how outclassed Usopp is physically. This isn't a fight he can win with brute force, but his spirit, his bravery is undeniable. He stood his ground against the final villain. He didn't run.
And that's when Luffy and Loki land. A giant rubber fist and a lightning-wreathed dragon claw hit the ground on either side of Imu. The whole shot is epic. Luffy sees Usopp and Brook on the ground, and his smile is gone. His eyes are shadowed. He is furious.
Loki confirms it. He says, "This is it, the presence I felt from the underworld, the overwhelming Haki. It's coming from you." This is the heart of the problem, the source of Elbaph's corruption.
Man, Imu looks at them, not at their faces, but at their very essence, and they say the names, Nika and Nidhöggr.
They know. Of course they know. They've been waiting. Nika, the sun god, the warrior of liberation, we know that name. But Nidhöggr, in Norse mythology, Nidhöggr is the serpent or dragon that gnaws at the roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil. Elbaph has a giant tree at its center. Loki's beast form is a serpentine dragon. It fits perfectly.
It's insane. So Loki's power isn't just a devil fruit, it's a mythical title, an inherited role, just like Luffy's. And Imu knows both of them. This isn't just a random fight, it's a destined confrontation between ancient cosmic enemies. And then the final line. Imu looks at them both and says, "It matters not whether you submit or die. Our fight will split the blue planet in two." What does that even mean? Is that a threat? Is he going to use an ancient weapon?
It could be a threat, a demonstration of the power of Uranus, perhaps. It could be a prophecy, a known outcome of these forces meeting. Or it could be the literal physical outcome of two planetary-level forces colliding. I mean, some people theorize the Red Line was created by some great power in the past. Perhaps this is the power that can unmake it, or create a new, even greater division.
Super high stakes. The all blue is Sanji's dream, the destruction of the Red Line. But this sounds like it would happen in the most catastrophic way possible. That is one of the biggest cliffhangers we've ever gotten. I can't believe it.
The fate of the entire world now rests on this fight in Elbaph. What was once the final island in the New World before Laugh-Tale might now be the stage for the final battle itself.
Okay, predictions. Let's do it. What's happening in 1178?
You first. Your hype is practically vibrating through the microphone.
You know it. All right. Number 1. Next chapter opens immediately with Gear 5 Luffy and Giant Beast Loki versus Imu. No more talking. Just an absolute explosion of haki and power that shakes the entire island. I want to see Imu's true form, or at least the true power of Gunko's body.
A strong possibility. The preamble is over.
Second prediction, we're going to see that other God's Knight that Jinbei warned about. Now that the big boss is revealed, the other one is going to show up to run interference on the other Straw Hats while Luffy and Loki fight Imu. It's going to be a full-on crew battle against the top of the world government.
That would balance the battlefield. It makes sense. I like it.
And third, Usopp isn't done. He's going to get up, barely conscious, maybe propped up by Brook, and he's going to land one more shot from a distance. Not a powerful one, but a weird one. Something with a pop green that covers Imu and fast-growing plants, or a pellet full of sea stone dust that actually affects their regeneration, even for a second. It won't beat them, but it'll show it's possible. It will be his God Usopp moment for this arc.
A classic Usopp moment, proving the impossible is possible through cleverness, not just force. Okay, my turn.
Hit me.
First, I believe Imu will elaborate on what splitting the blue planet means. I don't think we'll get a full fight immediately. Imu seems like the type to gloat, to explain the futility of their opponent's struggle. We'll get a lore drop explaining the stakes, a prophecy, or maybe even the true purpose of the One Piece itself in relation to this conflict.
Ooh, a lore bomb right before the fight. Classic. Make us wait for the punches.
Second, the name Nidhöggr will trigger a quick flashback for Loki. We'll see a glimpse of the original Nidhöggr, or perhaps a scene of a former prince of Elbaph telling a young Loki about his destiny. It will explain his role in this ancient conflict and why his power is so significant.
I need that. I need to know why Loki is so important, why he carries this legendary name.
And for my third prediction, we'll cut away from the main fight back to Chopper. He will successfully and consciously revert another giant, and Gabon or Kashi will witness it and understand. Word will spread like wildfire. They will realize there is a non-lethal way to save their comrades, shifting the entire tide of the battle across Elbaph from a grim slaughter to a rescue mission.
Ah, a victory of medicine over murder. That feels very Chopper. I can see it. A moment of hope amidst the apocalyptic stakes.